So Xing,
Yeah.
firstly, I want to say 谢谢. Thank you for being here because your team tells me, they say, Xing never speaks at conferences. He hates them.
It's my honor to be here.
But really, thank you for choosing to be at WiT. Okay.
It's my honor.
All right, so forgive me if the next question is a bit long, but I want to put some context around it, right? So the reason why I thought it was important for someone like you, in particular, to be speaking at our 20th anniversary is because I haven't met you. I mean, I've had some encounters with you, right? But I feel like as a leader, you're someone who cares deeply about travel. You've been in travel
26 years.
Okay, more than 2 decades, right?
Yeah.
And as a technologist, you believe in the power of tech to solve problems for travelers.
Yes.
Okay. So, and from the discussions the last 2 days, it is clear that 2025 is a very important moment for our industry, right? Because we're going to need honest conversations among leaders to get us through, I think, the next 20. So, yesterday, I had an interview with Agoda's Omri, Morgenstern, and Idan Salzberg. And they said they are investing in disrupting themselves, and they are investing in things they normally wouldn't. And then I interviewed Deep Kalra, whom you know very well, Make My Trip, and Alok Bajpai, Ixigo. And they both spoke about this, how there's never been a more disruptive time for intermediaries. So, my first question to you is, how are you thinking about this moment in travel tech? Are you thinking about who will win, who will disrupt? How are you thinking about this moment?
I think nowadays, if you talk about technology, I would say 80 or 90% of the chance you will hear the word AI. We're at the AI time, which people, as technologists, I'm talking about 30 years ago, when I was still in college studying computer science programming, we are talking about AI at that time, and finally, the time came. Okay, so I can say now, the whole technology world is so excited about this thing, and the people really do not really know where it will lead us to, what it's going to disrupt or change. Nobody really has the answer. But what we have to do is all the companies, not just travel, it's also all the technology world. There's just billions and billions, maybe trillions of money got put in because people are just afraid to be left behind. And this is where we are. It is a time that there's so much unknown because we really don't know what this AI needs, this new technology thing, will bring us to. There's just too much unknowns. That's one. However, in my eye, because I've been, in the past 10 years, I spent a lot of time on business expanding, and now I have to carefully navigate back to where I was from, because we need to make sure, because as a travel company at our scale, the resource and the bandwidth we have is actually very, very limited. When we are facing so much unknowns, it's extremely important for us to make the, safe decision, or I don't know how to say it, to make sure we employ our very limited resource to the things which we think has the best chance to bring value in the long run. Okay, that's what I've been, where that's most of my mind is in the past, in the recent period.
That's amazing, right? So you say, now you're thinking about how to make safe decisions with the limited resources that you have, but everybody looks at Trip and go, how can they have limited resources, right? I mean, that's like an oxymoron here.
We have too many things to work on.
Exactly. Too many things to work on. And so therefore, you've got to choose the right bet, right? The right bet to make, which is the scary bit, but is the exciting bit as a technologist. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So one recurring theme that came up also the last 2 days is how we must put the traveler first, right? Never mind the unknowns or the uncertainty, as long as we put the traveler first, because in the end, it is the traveler who has the power to decide where they want to book and how they want to book, right? Yep. And AI, we think, anyway, me as a traveler, has given me more power than I've ever had, right? So one thing that you said at the Envision Airline Conference in 2024, which I hosted for you, stayed with me. You spoke about value creation. And you said that whether you're an airline, OTA, or airport, it is in everyone's interest to create value for the ecosystem and for the traveler. And we should use tech to solve the problems, and then commercial will follow. That's what you said. So talk to us about value creation, because yesterday, Filippov, you know him from Skyscanner, right?
Yes.
You paid a lot of money for his company.
He's there.
He said that most of the innovations by OTA so far have largely been in selling more stuff to the traveler and not making travel easier. So what does value creation mean to you?
One of the things that we have been focusing on in the past few years is embracing for the change that no-cost carrier has become more and more dominant in Europe, Southeast Asia, even in China, well, not so much in North America, but almost much more everywhere else in the world. So those guys, they were not built for retaining. However, take Trip.com as an example. We are growing our flight business actually very rapidly. One of the biggest challenges we are facing is our partners. They were not built for retaining, number one. Number two, they will not even think about retaining. I'm not sure whether I offended anyone in the room, but I have to take Ryanair as an example. In the past 2 years, they actually changed their mindset a lot, towards our OTAs. For example, we are already a trusted partner with each other. This is the change which happened in the past few years. And I'm sure more and more changes are coming in this way. However, our systems are not ready for that. They were not built for that. So this is something, we have to make up or change. New standards need to be in place for this to work. For this to work seamlessly, reliably, and efficiently for our travelers. So this is something, we need to fundamentally make up and build.
So the roadblock to value creation for the traveler is because of the partners?
It's because the system is not built for this way of serving our customers.
Right. So how do you address that? How do you solve that?
You put all those people together. This is part of the innovation that we have to, our industry has to continuously evolve to face those challenges. Usually, one party cannot do it alone. It has to be the airlines, the IT providers, and OTAs. Whoever, are in the play have to work together, and because one people cannot fix this alone.
Right. So the innovation that's needed is not tech-led, but it actually needs to be human-led.
It's a combination of all of that. So it has to fundamentally it is tech, but not tech alone. So it's the willingness of working together, the willingness of the trust. Put the customer first, etc. And by the end of the day, it is technology which enables the savings and the time savings, the system efficiency, the reliability, and at the end, the biggest beneficiary would be the customer.
Right. So we really need a mindset shift, right? Rather than working against each other and then seeing whoever can extract whatever they want from the system, but actually thinking about the bigger picture and then putting the traveler first.
Yes. And in my eye, the people part is very often involved with the commercial. That's my point. But by the end of the day, if you have been in this area for long enough, you will realize the commercial part is actually tiny. Because nowadays, people are talking about 1% of commission here or there, plus or minus. But by the end of the day, let's not forget, this is just 1%. We should not let that 1% be bothering to the remaining 99%. That's the key.
And because you believe that once you get that tech, you get the humans together, and then you solve it, the commercials will just follow. I mean, you believe that, right?
Yes, I am.
I think that's why you stay in your engine room, because you don't want to meet people, because you're really complicated, But so now let's talk about using tech to solve specific problems for the traveler, which were raised the last 2 days as well. So the one theme that has come up is people are searching for vibe, not features, and it's hard to put vibe in a booking engine. So how is Trip solving for that? How are you solving for that?
So usually we strongly believe, travel is technology driven. It's not just for flights, actually, very much so for hotels, where we have very respected leaders in the industry, like bookings. They have solved this, the data accuracy, the inventories, synchronization in all the chains, because very often when the customer sees the product, the pipeline it has come through could be complicated. So how to shorten that pipeline, how to making sure data are more and more synchronized during the whole pipeline is something critical. If you're familiar with the airline industry nowadays, one of the biggest topics you must have heard of is the NDC. But very often, I remember a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I was in one of those IATA NDC conference where I pointed out I was very, very, I would say, hated at that moment, because I simply pointed out many of those NDC solutions that did not put it to the center of the problem of data synchronization, local-to-book ratio, and eventually they will come to that point a few years down the road, realizing if we don't solve those data issues, this synchronization and the data efficiency issues, it will be blocked down the road, and that's where we are. Okay, so it's sometimes people very often underestimated how important technology is at the beginning or even at the planning stage. And so that very often a lot of capital could be wasted because of that. So those are the lessons we learned, and those are the things I myself put my energy and the bandwidth on to making sure we can minimize some of those losses and waste down the road.
Right, so everything starts with data synchronization and contextual data. I mean, that came up a lot as well, at the last 2 days. So the other thing that I think the other theme that people are talking about is that people will lose trust in content because of AI slop. There's just so much out there people don't know. So how do travel specialists, because this is our only mode of defense against the LLMs, I would say, right? Protect the authenticity of travel content and keep or win the trust of travelers?
I believe the AI, on that sense, is a little bit exaggerated almost everywhere, because the earlier unknown word I talked about. I believe, travel did not change that much from the customer's point of view. They want comfort, they want to see the more part of the world. That did not change. Nor do I even believe that will change in the future. So I think newer technology is just new enablement for us, like in our industry, to serve customers' needs in that sense better. It's not something that changed the customer itself. It's just a new empowerment. And we saw the good news is we saw plenty of that in the past. We talk about blockchain technology, big data, and now it's AI. I'm quite sure a few years later it will be something new. So AI will be just one of the human achievements of technology advancement. It will be just one of those big milestones. But it will be just one. This will not be the end. So personally, I'm not worried about the AI out of control thing or the danger of AI thing. I think we are still far away from that point.
Okay, so I want to bring back that point because my mind just came back to what you said about that last conference that you were at, and then you became hated because you spoke. You said that you needed data synchronization, and now look where we are because that wasn't solved, and now we are in this kind of mess, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, at this moment in time, how do we solve that? How far are we then from solving that mess?
I have to take the LCC as an example because travel have different verticals: hotels, flights, rental car, train. By the way, Trip.com is in probably more business lines than many others. So each one has its own complexity. For example, taking the LCC part, because this is something Trip.com is very, very actively working on with one of the greatest partner, which is Novotel a amateur company. It's actually a small company located in Salt Lake City in the United States. So, but that team did an awesome job in aggregating the hosting for more than 70% of the world's LCCs, including Asia. For example, when we work with them, it's just suddenly we realized, they also realized, to making the data flow stream smooth, how much work it is. For example, they have a legacy system. LCC is not new. Okay? They have systems from day one to support their operation from, we're talking about more than 40 years ago, till today. And unfortunately, their system become more and more complicated as the time goes. Because each area, for example, right now in Europe, South Asia, and the Southwest, the American states, those are the big three. They are all different. So how to unify those guys? By the way, those guys, unfortunately, they don't talk to each other that much. In my opinion, for example, in WiT, it might be some of the challenge you should take on so that those guys, they can talk more to make the world of travelers, the whole world of travelers, to make their life easier. Because we have very, very few customers who fly with only one LCC airline. Yeah. In my opinion, the unify, to abstracting, their terminology or, their data flow, their data format, it's simple, which looks like a very, very simple technology problem, but it's actually not. Okay, so this is something I think, we are trying to make some progress in that front, but the progress is very slow. But I think this is the right direction.
This is the right time too. I see a common theme coming up. This need for unity, basically unity in everything, right? Okay. Yeah. So I want to then move on to talk about Trip's goal, right? Which is becoming the dominant OTA by 2030. I think you've set that goal, right? World's #1 by 2030. Correct?
Yeah, depending on criteria, but
okay. Yes, we say that's the goal. Okay, which markets and business areas do you see as most critical to your growth? Like which vertical? I know you love flights, but you're also in hotels, you're also in tours and activities, you're in transportation, you're in everything. You have done the connected trip before everyone else. So which areas are critical to your growth?
Clearly, it's Asia, APAC region. This region has the youngest population. By the way, that's great news, and has the fastest economic development speed. We are, South Asia is clearly, economic-wise, little bit still behind Europe and US, North American countries. However, it's the speed of, GDP growth. It's the fastest, and we believe in the next few years, Trip.com's growth, the biggest part of growth will come from this region, and this is where we also have the biggest investment. And also we have strong teams on the ground, etc., and marketing, etc. So we are partnering with many, different layer of partners and authorities, etc. So we believe, of course, China will continue to be our biggest, income revenue contribution. However, there are challenges in domestic China too, and also to a certain extent, our market share is already reached a certain point where we don't think we will have that much bigger growth there. Though inbound, China inbound tourism still is a big opportunity for us, which we are actively working on. But a huge part of the inbound tourism also comes from the APAC area. Yes. Yeah. So this is certainly where our focus would be.
Okay, so China inbound is a big story. I think Trip is really tripling down. I think you're asking your teams, we want to triple your inbound numbers, right? Yes, Chai, did you hear that? So China inbound is big, clearly, but you feel that you've hit kind of ceiling, so you need to go. So what percentage of your business now comes from outside China? Is it 30%? Are you at 30%?
Some of the data can be found in our quarterly report, but I believe Trip.com itself, the strict Trip.com brand, it's maybe 14 or 15% at this stage. Okay. but it's growing very fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you feel that it's a challenge for Trip to be seen as a global brand and not just like a China player? Do you feel, is that a challenge?
It's it takes time and effort and to build a global brand. But we are already, if you look back 5 years ago, we are very, very tiny. But nowadays, if you look, our business volume and growth speed is actually in very good shape, and we have all the confidence to believe in that our growth will continue. So this year, we did not see a sign of slowdown at all, so at our scale. So we have very strong confidence that Trip.com will continue to be a stronger and stronger worldwide global brand in the coming years.
Okay, so China outbound is still a big story. I mean, it's coming back, and I think people are looking, well, next 20, how are we going to handle all the Chinese travelers that are going to come out? Will they overwhelm our destinations, right? So keep that thought, because right now, people want authentic local experiences, and they really want to discover new places. So yesterday in my interview with Expedia's, Greg Schultz and Alfonso Paredes, I shared these data points, okay? So half of the world's 1.5 billion travelers were in Europe in 2024. 75% of international tourists visit only 4% of Italy. So Trip has this huge responsibility. You come from a really big market, right? So how do you ensure that you really do spread your travelers out and that they're not going to the same, lake in Switzerland where, what's that, crash landing, whatever, right? And everybody just went to that lake and just swamped that lake. How does Trip overcome that?
Honestly, I don't think Trip can do much, nor do we even need to do much. Before this trip, I actually came directly from Ulaanbaatar, okay, Mongolia, not the inner Mongolia, out of Mongolia. It's, by the way, it's 28 degrees here. It's minus 10 degrees there already.
Minus 20?
Minus 10. Oh. It will be minus 20 in another month. Okay, so the situation is, take China as an example. Chinese tourism, yes, it's coming back to the pre-pandemic level. It's very much so already. And to certain countries, it's probably already exceeded. And we believe it will continue to grow. However, don't expect that part of growth to be as strong as pre-pandemic years. On the other hand, many of those Chinese tourists, they are not new tourists, they are not new international tourists anymore. They used to be going to, could be Italy, Switzerland, but they will not come to the same place again by themselves. Information is easy to retrieve, okay? And also the different destinations, they are pouring investment to attract more and more. So that diversification will happen by itself. All we need to do is, cater and monitoring those trends, provide better information, better service, and so the travel flow will happen by itself.
I love your faith in human nature. You think travelers will just want to fooled by their own desire, will discover new places, and because the information is so easily available. Yeah. Okay, so we don't have to guide them. Okay, that's wonderful. So let's talk about being a technologist leader. Okay. And I love your smile because it's like such a terrifying time to be a technologist, but also exciting at the same time, right? And I know that techies are usually more comfortable in the engine room than they are in the boardroom.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, that's me.
So what quality did you have to work on yourself, to be the leader that you are today?
So we have to put under context of our industry. So technologists cannot provide that much value to our industry if he does not put his effort and his smartness towards very targeted problems that our industry is facing. I took in the past few years, we are inside Trip.com, we are attacking those difficult problems one by one using technology. So it's very, very important for the technologists in our industry to put our industry fundamental problem at heart. And then use your smartness for innovation or leverage new technology, By the way, new technology will not stop coming. So it's important for technologists, to stay open mind, embracing for the new technology. I'm very, very sure a few years later, we will not be talking about AI here, it will be something new. So this open mindset is very important, and the problem targeting is very, very important. So it's important for us to show and to exercise our value during those problem solving. So in my opinion, problem solving is the central part of our technologies in our industry.
Very good advice. So it seems to me it is really good advice to apply to across any kind of work that you do, right? As long as you keep the problem at heart and solve it with your heart, right? And then a bit of your head. Okay. So I know Trip has been very successful in using AI in customer service. I mean, your customer service just absolutely, you slay dragons with your customer service. And it's led to higher efficiency and continuing improvement, right? Your AI, and you've reduced the number of staff. So on Monday, Gareth Williams, you also know Gareth, he made a lot of money from Trip. Okay, so he said, hiring people should be the last resort. With AI, there's so much you can automate before adding people. Every hire adds complexity. The hardest thing in the universe is how humans interact. What's your thinking?
So AI is certainly a very, very powerful tool. So, but the people is still important. So internally, what our philosophy is, we are actually increasing the salary to our service and staff, because the easier work is already taken over by AI. That's a reality. That's a reality for everybody. So, but there are still plenty of harder problems which has continued to be solved. Well, the set of that problem might become smaller and smaller. But to us, because our business continue to grow, our staff of a calling center, the number of staff actually gradually grow, though at a lower speed than our business growth. So the problem left over for human beings to solve is become harder and harder. So we are actually taking our calling staff, our customer agency staff as an asset in our company, more so than before, because their skills is becoming more and more important. Because their skills and their passion for solving, by the way, AI does not have passion, okay? This is something people can provide uniquely, and that become actually clearly become a more and more important asset and advantage for our group. That's a change that is happening right now, and that change will continue.
So AI cannot replace passion.
Correct. And
maybe not now. Maybe not now. Okay.
Okay, sure. We should be open.
How do you think Chinese tech will influence the world in the next 20? I know it's a big question.
I want to give my honest answer, which may not be, politically correct. But I think, Chinese technology community is doing more and more innovation in the app level, application level. If you look at all the apps and all the functionality that the Chinese technology company providing, that clearly is a leader. However, Chinese tech community is still catching up in the more fundamental areas. I'm not even talking about chip, the chip design, those things. I'm just talking about, from the pure software point of view. For example, like the operating system and the chip design area, that's pure software by itself. It's still lagging behind, it's still catching up. But I think the speed of improve is very, very fast, actually very, very impressive. So I can see this continue. So it's, in the technology world, it's very difficult to separate the East and the West, because a lot of the nowadays, a lot of the new technology and new advancements, it's all open source. There's no boundary of country or region or what, East or West or whatsoever. So I can continue to see that happening. So which I think is a great thing for humanity.
Yeah. I mean, so the functionality is really good. Maybe the design could be better, but it's moving really, really fast.
Correct.
Fantastic. Okay. So you talked about passion, and there's also a theme in the conference about that we have to think about what is the meaning of being human in the next 20, right? Because maybe that's too big a question. but for the young techies, what what can they do to develop creativity, empathy, and other human skills that will be important when they live in such a digital world right now?
I think the fundamental things did not change at all. It's be a better person, respect, unselfish. Those are some of the assets when I look for the younger generation of leaders. Those are the assets I'm looking for. Because, even as a technologist, you could have better foundation, better or worse, but in the long run, that is less important. It's the human merits, your characteristics, your unselfishness, your willingness to cooperate. Those are the key things that we are looking at when we select the younger generation of leaders. That's something I want to remind the younger generation, something that we are not changed and should not be forgotten.
Okay, so I'm going to finish with rapid fire. Okay, one-word answer. A travel experience that won't exist in 20 years.
The travel experience?
A travel experience that won't exist in 20 years.
Travel experience will not exist in 20
Yes.
years. I can clearly see the generations going, they want more customization. Some of the group tourism, it may fundamentally change because I can see less and less people have a fun for that. I can see more and more people, they want smaller groups, they want more customization. They want to follow their own will instead of predefined routes or programs. So this is, but I can see that, I can see, probably those bigger group predefined. Nowadays, they are only for elders, okay? With this elders goes away, the next generation come. The next generation elders will be us, okay? I think when I'm 80, I don't want to attend the group tourism today. I want to go with smaller groups. 20 years later, I think I will stay the same. Okay, I think that's a clear trend for all of us.
Selfish and solo.
Great.
And you talk about to be a better person, to have respect, important qualities.
Yeah.
What a man, hey? Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
It's my
you.
honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
All the nerds to